This week on Tech Talk, we're going to take a quick look at WeVideo and how you might use that video editing software to import a number of pictures from Google Drive, drop them into your video, add some transitions, and create a nice little slideshow video that you can share with students, send home, do whatever you might need to do with it. So we're going to jump in here to the main login screen. I'll just assume we haven't logged in before. That means I'm going to come up to the top here and I'm going to choose log in, of course, and then come over to the log in with Google. So we're using our TLDSP Google accounts right there, just to make sure that we're getting the full version of WeVideo and we're not getting any kind of simplified free version stuff. So from here, there's the classroom option. If I was going to assign something to my kids, I can have this sort of tied in with Google Classroom and give them assignments and things that way. But for right now, we just want to know how we can do this ourselves, and this is what you could have the students do as well if you wanted to. By end of the year, we want to frequently end up making these slideshow videos that we can sort of send home as like a digital yearbook kind of thing. So first off, I'm going to need some media. Now, I could come right to my media section here, and I could go ahead and import something or make myself a new folder and do it that way. I'm going to go ahead and do sort of the knee-jerk reaction. We would typically hit create new right away and just jump right into making videos before we even think about our media. So let's just assume I did that. And then I got here and went, oh yeah, I need pictures. Fair enough. You see your media section right here now. It's the first thing that pops up with the sort of updated layout that they've been doing. And what that means is that I can come over here now and say import. I'm going to come down here and hit drive. And from here, I have a couple of ways I can go about this. Let me sort this by name. I could jump into the folder. I'm going to look for my pictures folder here that I wanted. And I'll go with this one. So I could open this folder and then sort of select a batch of them and hit select. Or I should be able to come back here, click on that, and let me do it. No, okay. So it wasn't going to let me. I want to make sure I could possibly grab the entire thing. So it's not going to let me grab all of the folder all at once. So if I want to organize these in a folder, here's what I have to do. I'm going to get out of here for a sec with a cancel. Close that guy. I can, right in this space right here, right click and add a new folder. So this is what I mean by I didn't have to start with the media section. I can actually come to here where I want to do my editing, say new folder, and I'm going to call this, well, I called it a digital yearbook before, so let's call it that. We'll call it yearbook photos, just to stick with the theme. And then I got to find that folder, open it up with a double click, and now I'm going to import. So this time when I go to my drive, I can find that folder again. Name. Where's my pictures? Pics. And these are just some scenery type shots. I'm going to grab a batch of them and select. All right. So when we're bringing photos in here, it's going to take a second while it imports them, and I'm going to end up dragging them down onto this video one timeline here in a moment. And once I do that, I'll have the option to add transitions between each of them. I'll be able to add some text at the front if I want. I can add some music into the background. And then I'd be able to go ahead and say finish and actually save this as a completed video project. Depending on the length of it though, I actually have a couple of options. So let's go ahead and just grab these right now. This last one's just getting imported, so I'll give it a moment. Any duplication here that I want to get rid of? Yeah, these guys are pretty similar. Let me go ahead and grab those, hit my delete, right click, there we go, delete. We don't need duplicate stuff. There we go. What else? I mean, some of these are pretty close, but as long as they're a little different, I'm okay. All right. That'll work. All right, so from here, what I'm going to be able to do, once the images are all right here, I can drag them individually if I wanted to. I can grab one and drag it down onto this timeline here, because what I'm looking for is to put things on this video one timeline. I certainly can't put it on audio because, I mean, it's a picture, it's not a sound. And the text is technically a video line here. It's not just for text. It's been labeled text, but that really doesn't make any difference in this case. The reason they call it that is for adding in sort of motion text, like little text video clips, basically, which I'll throw in here in a second. But before I even put in just the one image, I'm going to click this menu and trash that for a second. Because with images, I can go ahead and click and drag here. I'm going to grab this whole batch of them. In fact, I'll bet I can just click and say Control A. Can I do that here? No. Okay, so let me just drag out. Use the roller on my mouse to scroll. There we go. And hopefully, it's going to let me grab everything. No, it doesn't like that. That's interesting. Okay. Click. What if I go Shift and arrows? Or I'll go Shift and click. It really doesn't want me to select all. That's wild. Alright, I'll grab what I can for right now. Because yeah, as soon as I do any clicking to scroll up and down, it lets go. Huh, I didn't think it did that to me before, but alright, let me grab these. I'll drag them down to my timeline all at once. And what I wanted you to see is that when I do that, it pops up this little question box basically saying, all right, how many seconds or frames do you want to have these images up on your slides for, up on screen for? So these could be, I mean, photos you've taken in class, photos throughout the year, these could be shots of student work, these could be anything you've got a picture of, or video technically. Which means I can keep them up in this case for 5 seconds is just the default. I could go 10 seconds if I knew there was more text on there that I wanted people to read. Or if I was trying to create like a stop motion animation kind of an effect, then I might go to frames and just make this like 2 frames per image to make them really quick basically to create that animation sequence. But got a video up on our doc already about how you can make stop motion animation and such using sort of that technique and then some green screens and stuff. So I won't dive off into that just yet. I'm going to go ahead and say done and just leave it at the 5 seconds. And I've got a little animation already on there. It mentioned the Ken Burns animation. So it means when I click play here, it's kind of added this little sort of sliding preview to it. There's a little bit of a zoom. There's just a sort of a little bit of an effect to it, essentially, just to sort of fancy it up. I don't have to leave that checkbox on. I could certainly have deleted it. But this way it just sort of adds a little bit to each of these pictures without me having to go through and mess around with any of them at all. But sometimes I like to mess around. So what we'll look at along the side here, instead of just images or videos, these are all the stock things that are already in there. What I'll do is I'll give it some text at the beginning. So I'm going to go to text here along the left side. And the way they've reorganized this is basically instead of just showing you the text options, they've got these little categories now. So the first is titles, and I have to click this blue See All to be able to get the rest of it to come up. And then they've got captions, multi-line, let's see if I go down what else, seasonal, special. Seasonal is probably a good one considering. Let's see if I've got a good sort of graduation yearbooky type option here. There's this one. It kind of pops up. That could work. I mean, if I'm not in grade 8 or 12, it's probably not graduation exactly, but you get the idea. I can steal one of those and change the text, so I'll probably do that. Yeah, let's do that. All right. What's that look like? Click it. Sure. I'm going to drag that down, and when I drag anything down onto a video timeline that's already got stuff on it, instead of it just dropping in with a nice green box like this one around it, when I drag it to this line, I can see that yellowy orange kind of box around it instead, which is not meaning that I can't insert it. It means that when I let go of my mouse button here, I'm going to be prompted here to insert and push, which just basically means it's going to drop that little animated piece of text in front of these images and push everything else down the timeline. So nothing gets deleted or removed in any way. So I hit that. It's going to drop that right in there. And now, when I hit the preview button, certainly I can see what's going to go on here. There we go. But of course, that's not what I want to say. So what I can do on this little video clip that's sitting here is just double click it, and it gets me into the settings. And so from here, I can change any of this stuff. So let's see, what do I want to say? Instead, I want to see something like enjoy. Enjoy your, ooh, gotta spell it right. Your summer. Can't type it all today. I mean, I'd say class of technically. See you next year. How about that? Again, presuming it's not grade 8 or 12. And then I can adjust these colors if I want. So if there's particular, say, school colors that I wanted to use, I could click into here and kind of go with more of a purpley color if I wanted, which works for the white writing, but now I need something a little darker for that. Yeah, let's go green. Sure, I won't spend too much time on it. I can then save these changes, and that's what my new text is going to look like now. So if I just hit play, it's going to do the little animation sequence, and then once that's finished, it's going to roll into the images that I've added. Again, whether they're student work or photos or anything at all, really. And so from there, I can hit this little pause button, and I can look down the left-hand side and see what else we've got, which one of them, of course, is transitions. So if I don't like the way it's currently switching between images here, when I hit play, it just kind of flicks from one to the next without anything in between. I can do just about anything I want. So crossfade is just going to fade from one image to the next. It's basically the most subtle option I can go for. Cross blur is pretty close. Not quite as subtle, but it's not really flipping and dancing and doing weird stuff in between. Whereas some of these other options like puzzle right or the mosaic, I mean, these are much more visually active, I guess I'll say. Not invasive, but there's more going on. It's kind of trying to be part of the show. I mean, all the way up to curtains or parasol. I mean, you can get kind of ridiculous if you want. Throw in the Warshacks. Oh, what did I just do? There we go. So I'll go with something simpler. I'm going to go with the crossfade just to keep it easy. Now I can grab this crossfade, and basically what I need to do at this point is just drag it down and drop this little vertical bar between my images. So I can drop it right there between those two. And then I can grab technically a different transition if I really wanted to, but when I'm doing this lesson with kids and staff, I'll always say pick a transition that works best for the sort of the theme or the idea of what you're doing and just stick with that transition. Because when you start using multiple different transitions all over the place, for any kind of video project, it just gets too disjointed and it feels like it's a bunch of things all mashed together and there's no consistency across it. So I would, even if you went with a couple, you could maybe use two that are kind of similar and go back and forth. I mean, you've got the sideways swipe here, wipe right, no, sorry, wipe right or wipe left. Those kinds of things could work together, or down and up. I mean, that's the old Star Wars transitions. They use those wipes all the time. I'll stick with my blur for now. I'm going to grab that and drag another one down here. I don't have a way to apply it to every image here. I do have to drag it between each of them, which is slightly time consuming. But once I've dragged these down here, I can actually make changes to them all at once. So if I were to grab that, almost done, drop it in there, and then here, and then finally there. There we go. If I were to watch that, I might as well do that right now. Click play. It's going to go through, and then I can see that it is in fact going to blur. There we go. This little cross blur fade from one to the next. Cool. Okay, so if I wanted to change that, if I want to experiment a little bit, I can come down to this little spot here. I'm going to zoom in a bit too. There we go. That's my little zoom tool in that bottom right corner. That thing's super handy. Anytime you're doing any kind of video project, this little zoom controller in the bottom corner, it zooms in on this timeline piece here. So right now I'm looking at 0 seconds to 1 minute 5 seconds. But if this was a much longer video project, of course I'd want to zoom out so I could see the whole thing. And then if I'm working on small sections of a video and doing little edits, I'm going to zoom in a lot so that I can be really precise about exactly when I cut something. So that, yeah, that zoom tool is super useful and too often forgotten. But when I click here between these images, I'll just take my mouse off that again. This is that first transition that I dropped in there, that little gray box that's between these two images. So if I click it once, I get a little menu popping up, and right now it's letting me know that this is duration is 1 second, which is fine. I don't want it to take longer than that. I mean, the images are only 5 seconds a piece anyway. And the crossfade is happening. So I can click that drop-down list, and I'm going to see all the same options as I do in the background there for those transitions. I'm going to see the cross blur and the zoom, the wipe up, down, left, right. Those are all here just listed. So I can switch them to whatever I want. So if I went to say that, I don't know, the curtains, I can do that there, and it means that that first one has changed to curtains. And then when it gets to the next transition, it's still just the nice fade. But if I was trying to make a sweeping change, like I said before, kind of stick with something and that works, instead what I'll do is say apply to all. So I can choose the all option and then say curtains and click away. And that should mean that now all of my transitions have been switched to curtains. Let's see. Oh, no, it didn't. That's kind of the idea here. Let's see. Oop, that was super quick. What'd that one do? Oh, it lied to me. I do have to do every single one individually. That's a pain. Apply to selected. Let's see if I say 2 seconds. Will that change to these ones? Yes, okay. I just had to kind of hit enter and make it work. So that did just change all of them to curtains. I wasn't wrong. Man, that was making me second guess myself. Okay, so now we've got curtains everywhere, which means I'm not going to want that. So let's change it back. I'm going to go to curtains. I'm going to say, let's see, I'll go back to the fade option and I'll say, okay, I think I need to pick all first. Say all, then choose something. And that worked. Okay, good. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to choose all and go to crossfade. Done. So that should mean each of these now, yeah, crossfade, crossfade. Now I've got it at 2 seconds because I was messing around there. So there's going to be a 2-second crossfade now. So it's just going to take a lot longer to kind of blur from one to the other, which just makes it kind of a slower, more subdued, I guess. Like you're not jumping from one image to the next. You're kind of giving it a lot of time really to blend from one to the other. So it depends on the presentation that you're putting together, whether or not that makes sense, or whether or not you're going to come back and say, you know what, apply to all. I actually only want 1 second. Enter. And now that tightened everything up again and made the whole thing a bit quicker. So you've got options that way. That once you've got these transitions all in there, you can make changes to everything all at once. Now let's see. If I wanted to add text on top of any of these images, so if this was again student work or faces, happy, smiling kids in class, or out at gym or whatever they might be doing, you do have the option of coming to text. I had used the big image there, but maybe you could just use something simple like a title or a little caption type option. Let's see what our captions look like. There's one with a nice star. So if I wanted to put like students' names in, I could certainly do that. So let me grab this one. I'm going to drag it down on top of this image. And the reason I say on top of is just because it's the layer above that image, which means when I see it now in my actual preview video, this text is going to be on top of the image, like layered on top of the image. If I had done this the other way around and I had put the videos across this row and then I'd started adding text down below it, you would never see any of that text just because the image takes up the whole screen and overlaps it, and you would never know that there was text underneath there. And you can do lots and lots and lots of text if you wanted to. Right now I've got this one piece of text over this one image. If for some reason I wanted more text items to be all on the screen at the same time, I can actually come to this little plus symbol over in the corner here and click that guy, and I can add a new video layer. So because I'm talking about text, I'm just going to call this one text 2. So it's really obvious. Text 2. Add it. And now that gets added as another layer right here. So I could then grab, I don't know, this one, just to be totally different, and drag that guy down onto here. And I'll even tighten him up so he's the same size. The problem here, of course, they're in the same position, so you're going to end up seeing them right on top of each other, but you can change that too. So if I decided that I wanted this up in the top corner, just like earlier when I clicked on this bit of text over here and I wanted to edit that text, I just double clicked it to change the words. Well, over here, I can do the same thing because I don't want to say swipe up. I'm going to double click. I can type whatever I want in there, but more to the point, I can come over to the preview panel here and you'll start to notice there's these little arrow points in the corners, just like when you're resizing images in like slides or something or a document. I can click this and I can just drag it around and put it wherever I want. So I'm going to stick it up there for right now, which means when I preview this and hit play right here in this window, I'm going to see that text come in, and so is that text. And I'd hit save. Not too likely that you're going to actually be putting multiple pieces of text on there, but you certainly might find great reasons to do that. I mean, I've certainly done some where I wanted multiple bullet points on a slide because it was more instructional, which meant for each bullet point I had to add a new text/video kind of layer to that so that I could stack them all up on each other and just place them vertically on the screen at the same time. So you might end up hitting that 4, 5, 6 times depending on what kind of text you want to add. It's just up to you that way. But with that said, I can go through the whole presentation and add, students' names or the activity we're doing or whatever it might be all the way through till I get to the end. I could certainly, let's see what I've got under captions. I'm sure I've got another good little text option here for ending things. Yeah, there's kind of an end credits one that just sort of scrolls a little bit if you wanted it to, but here, I'll go with this impact one. I'm going to drag him down to the very end, double click him, and that can be my thanks for a great year. And throw an exclamation. Save. All right. And so that'll pop on screen like that. If I back up a little bit and hit play, we can see it come in. And just like how I moved that other text, if I decided that I like that, but I'd like it to be bigger, I can actually grab this just like I would normally with these corners and just make the whole thing bigger. That way. Play. So I could do it that way, or I can come to these fonts here and start messing around with them. I can change the colors again if there's school colors I want to stick to or something like that. So you've got a bunch of options that way for how this is going to look. But presuming that you've got everything in there that you need, what you can do to finish this up, of course, is click just the blue finish button in the top corner here. When you do, it's going to give you some choices as to how you want this to be saved. So I'm going to go with my yearbook theme here. Go set. Certainly HD. I have no reason to give it like a lower quality video at this point. It's going to be video. It's called yearbook. I can call it whatever or choose one of these thumbnails, but it's not going to make a whole lot of difference to me. And then the one thing I want to make sure I do is click this Drive icon so that when I export this, it actually saves the video into my Google Drive account. That way I'll just have it there. I can share it in Classroom. I can email it. I can download it. I can do anything that I would do with anything else that I have in Drive. So that part's really easy. One option I have here, though, beyond just exporting this as a video, is you see here under export, there's the option for audio only. Well, I didn't say anything on this. I didn't add any music to it or anything, although we can. But the other option is GIF, meaning an animated image. So it's not a video, it's just a picture file that happens to be animated. And I'm sure you've seen lots of animated GIFs online of, little smiling cartoons and things, or somebody winking at you, like a really quick little couple of seconds kind of thing, usually for a GIF. In fact, if I click this now, I suspect it's going to throw a warning at me. Yeah. Lets me know that my video exceeds the 45-second limit for GIFs. So you can't make something larger than that if you wanted to turn this into an actual image file. So I can go cancel and just see where my 45 seconds was, right around here. So if I want to get rid of some of these images, I'm going to click, hold shift, and go to there, and just delete these. and I'll drag that text to the end. So hopefully we can get that down to 45. It looks like it's perfect. Now if I go finish, I can choose that GIF option. Yeah, I can go medium or large. Doesn't really matter there. Probably big, but it depends on what you want to use it for. Go to Drive and then say Export. And I'm choosing that partly because the image will be a lot faster to export than a video would be. Although it is pretty short at 45 seconds, it won't take very long. So that's going to get queued up here. It's going to save that basically on the WeVideo side of things and then send it over to Google Drive. Depending on what you want to do with things, you do have a couple options there as well, because once this finishes here, it will present me with a little button at the bottom here to just download this file to my computer. So if I didn't need it in Drive, if I was never going to use it in Drive, I just wanted to get it myself, then certainly I could just download that to my computer and then drop that into whatever other project I'm going to use it for. And that's actually where the file format can make a big difference, because with videos, I could certainly post that to YouTube. I could put a video into a Google Slideshow. I could put a video onto a Google website if I had like a classroom website or something. I could put a video into classroom assignments. I can't put videos into documents. So if I'm writing up documentation of some kind, or I'm writing an email even, I can't just insert that right into the document itself. But a GIF is technically an image file. It's not a video file. So the GIF will allow me to actually insert that right into a document and have it moving around and animating, or right into an email if I wanted to make like a tiny thing, then make it part of my signature or something. Um, I've used them before for software demonstration kind of stuff where I want to show people click here, click there, and drag that. And I know it's only a few seconds, so I include that as a GIF image in part of the actual documentation. So if you're reading it on screen, you still get a little bit of visual information as well as just the text. Wow, that's taken a long time to finish up here. I'm kind of surprised that it's taking that many seconds. While it's doing that, I can go back to the editor here, and I could certainly go away, make more changes. So if there's other things I wanted to tweak and adjust, I could do that. I could hit finish again if I wanted to, and then do the video option and hit drive and save that out as a video. That's certainly a possibility as well. It just depends on what I want to do with this file when I'm actually done with it. So you've got lots of options. And certainly your students have access to all the exact same stuff as well. It's all free. Well, it's not all free. The board is certainly paid for this license so that you have access to tons of stock videos and stock images and all kinds of things in here. So you can create some pretty cool stuff, even just with the stock stuff, if you didn't have your own media to go with it. Or you can do things like this where they've got a green screen option and you could use their videos with the green screen, take that part and actually drop in your own content wherever you see those green boxes. So that's always an option as well. We've got some green screen information on our doc as well for how you would go about doing that. So I won't drag out today's lesson any longer. I do want that GIF to finish. I'm kind of shocked that it's still going. Didn't want to rename it. Let's see if it has actually finished yet. I'm going to pull up Drive for a second. Actually, I can go to my exports. What am I thinking? My media. Close this. There's exports. I had to close what I was currently editing to see my exports. So if I go to my exports, I should be able to see that. What do I have these sorted by right now? Let's go date created. Other way around. Yearbook. There it is. And it must still be processing. Okay. Well, when it's finished, I won't drag it out. Let me go to Drive. What you'll end up seeing, Drive, is a folder in your Google Drive just called WeVideo. So there's mine down at the bottom. Oop, scrolled. Stop. Got away from me. There it is, WeVideo. Too many things loading. And inside my WeVideo folder, I'll have all the different videos and things that I've created in WeVideo. So here's where I can see if I just switch that back to list to make it a little easier. There we go. All these are going to come in as MP4 files, unless you're making a GIF. This was a Dancing Santa GIF I made back at Christmas time as part of an example. So that way, you're getting all these different video files in here. You can export MP3 files, you can export the GIFs, but then you get these MP4s most of the time whenever you're creating video files. And yet, like I said, because it's in Drive, you'll be able to treat it like any other file, and you'll be able to go ahead and just import that into whatever you want to use it for, basically. Download it or insert it into things or post it as part of assignments in Classroom, anything at all you might want to do with it. And that is how you're going to be able to create slideshows with WeVideo.